A brand new studio and a brand new walk to the chair. Good morning. Thanks for being with us from the newly renovated Studio A. We begin our program with stories that impact all of us. We're talking about a new mandate on electric cars in Connecticut and the upcoming opening of a Tesla showroom at Mohegan Sun. We'll also get into the potential rate hikes and health insurance and utilities and some business news involving a couple of big companies here in Connecticut. Joining me to work through all of this is Haar. He is a columnist and senior editor at Hearst Connecticut Media. You can find his work on ctinsider.com and in the newspapers listed on the screen. There's his picture. And here he is live.
There he is, just like the picture. It's great to be in the new studio. I should have brought flowers.
I know, welcome. It's the first time in here.
It's fantastic.
Let's talk about this Tesla. This is something I said back to when I was going to the Capitol as a reporter a million years ago.
Yes.
There was all this talk with the auto dealers and Tesla, and could they have a showroom?
Yes.
This sounds to me like a big end around by going to the casino. Does it sound that way to you?
It's creative policy thinking. My question is, why didn't anybody think of this before? Because we all know that the sovereign nations are not subject to all Connecticut laws. They are subject to some. You can't, the murder,
Right.
So, but, and this is, as you said, a workaround. The direction of things has been towards direct sales anyway. And Tesla has been saying it's really been very intense. It goes way back, this debate, as you said, but it's been very intense since 2015. And that was the year that it really emerged, and there was a big fight, and they got a vote, and almost got a vote through the Senate and all this stuff. And there were too many promises made to the auto dealers. The auto dealers have franchises. A franchise, as with anything, say Subway, is the right to do something exclusively. So they naturally lose something. Does the customer lose anything when they can now go to, in this case, Mohegan Sun, and buy a Tesla directly? They're already going to New York. It's not that much further if you're in most of the state. So my view is that we're going this way anyway, and the workaround just points out and highlights that fact. The auto dealers are saying, wait a minute, this is a Pandora's box, because everything starts to fall apart. You, A, have no protections on the auto side, and B, what's going to happen when Mohegan Sun and Foxwoods move toward other illegal activities for Connecticut? You could do anything. You could pick anything. I don't want to name something that's illegal, say prostitution, and say, can they do it there? Because there might be some law, but that's always been a concern, and there is a working with the Connecticut state government notion inherent in the agreements that date to the 90s with the casinos. But
well, a lot of those agreements were, we want you to know we can do this. We're going to play nice, but we want you to know we can do this, and this might be another example of that.
On both sides.
All right.
Yes.
Well, EVs is a big topic in general around this.
We're not leaving vehicles.
We're not leaving that topic because the governor is moving towards this mandate in 2035. Yes. So what does the mandate really mean?
The mandate says that starting with the model year of 2035, Connecticut auto dealers, or direct sales, I guess if it's all direct sales, can only sell electric vehicles in the light truck and car. The trucks, big trucks, can still, burn fuel. People are looking at this through a lens of 2023, and there's outrage. How could the governor have ordered the end of this? Is a lifestyle as we know it and all this stuff? And they're not. This week we had the hearing about it, the deep hearing. It was online. The Republicans, I think rightly, said it should have been in person. I think they're right. I think it should have been an in-person hearing because that has a greater sense of gravity. I also think the governor's office should have pointed out that, yes, this is a rule, and we are engaging in rulemaking that after 2035, but it's really aspirational. And it's also following the California standards. In auto emissions, a state can either follow California or the EPA. You can't have your own. Connecticut can't set it, because then it would be a free-for-all. The court said California can have its own standards because EPA wasn't doing its job some years ago. We follow the California standards, as do other states, mainly blue states. This is simply following the California standards.
And you gave me the example, I want to move to another topic, but if you had told businesses 20 years ago they all had to have a website, they'd have said, that's crazy.
That's exactly right. Think in 1988, you're a small business and somebody says you're going to have a thing called a website that you're going to have to maintain and carry with expensive costs and everything. They'd say, you're crazy. That's a mandate. I can't do. That's nuts. I'm not going to do it. And this is what's happening now. This is an aspirational goal, just like having a carbon-neutral grid in 2040. That's not going to happen. It's a goal.
Let's talk about some big business news. You had a column about Frontier leaving the state of Connecticut. We also heard this week about Subway being bought out. So tell us about those two things. What's the impact of those? Let's start with Frontier.
Yeah, Connecticut's headquarters industry I have always viewed as its own separate thing. right? In other words, you have the auto industry and the chemicals industry and the biotech. But forgetting about all that, just the fact that we have corporate headquarters is a thing unto itself. And we've lost many of them. We've lost Lego. We lost Aetna to a buyout. We lost UTC to a buyout. This is what's happening. There's consolidation. Connecticut is not generally winning. We're getting some. Frontier is 300 people in Norwalk. It dates back 77 years. It dates from before Frontier bought the AT&T, the old SNET franchise, which still does have thousands of workers, a couple of thousand workers in Connecticut. They are staying. And as one lawyer who talked with me said, Connecticut will always be important to us. And as you said,
I think an ex-girlfriend said that to me once, so that sounds like lip service.
So basically, Frontier said it's not you, it's me. But it makes no sense for them to be in Connecticut for what they want to do. They are in the business that is based in Dallas. They're already there because they came out of bankruptcy in 2021, and all of a sudden, new management, new people, they're in Dallas. It's a Dallas company.
And just quickly on Subway.
Yes, Subway, yes. That's a fear. Subway has, we think, a few hundred people still in Connecticut, not as many as the Peak, but we think a few hundred in Shelton, maybe some still in Milford. They moved their headquarters late last year, early this year. The sale was not unexpected, but unfortunately the sale went to a big owner, Rourke Capital, of fast food. Dunkin' Donuts, Johnny, what's his kind, Sonic, they own lots of it. So that's a strategic buy, which usually means cutting of staff. We don't know that, but it usually means that.
Health insurance is another big topic, another big talker. Where is that going? What should people know about that as we move into the...
Well, the good news is that the request, the average increase request, this is on the small business and Obamacare market, is 12.4% this year, which is still way more than we want to pay. But last year's request was in the 20% range. And of course, Attorney General William Tong is fighting back against that. And this is the same old question that we see in electric regulation or in water, where regulators approve prices. The companies say, if we don't get this, we can't do our job. In this case, we can't keep America healthy. This is taking place again. So the 12.4 is going to be knocked down. Last year's 20% request was knocked down to about 12. So that's still too high, and the 12% is going to be knocked down. But it's still more than inflation, and that's the fear in medical costs over time.
And like you said with utilities, same thing. They put in what they want, and the state tells them what they get.
Well, but it's not that simple. There are laws, and in the case of the mess with UI that we've been following, where they're fighting over, how much money they're going to be able to charge. There were, I think, and you're a lawyer, I think there were 16,000 interrogatories, 16,000 documents in that case. So there's very specific law, and the backdrop here is on the healthcare side. There's a lot of anger by advocates, specifically at Cigna, over too much profit and too much moving of cash to other businesses. So that's something to watch.
Well, I heard all those interrogatories. I'm a lawyer. All I heard was billable hours.
Yeah, there are a lot of those.
Thank you. A lot of topics we just covered in a short time. We'll have you back soon.
Not a dry summer.
No, it's going to be a busy one for sure.